Where should you invest in Toronto? The age-old question. Stay tuned to this week's episode. I am going to break that down for you. Good day, Toronto. Welcome to another episode of Prime Property. So glad you could join us here. Everyone's always asking, what's the next hot neighborhood? Or where to invest next? Where should I buy? Well, I'm going to give you a snippet of that in today's episode. Now, if you're new to investing, this is going to be a little bit more complicated than the last video I showed about in how to invest in real estate series, but you can still follow along as I'm going to be doing another screen share. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the exact way on how I look at the downtown core on where to buy the next condo. Now, I know there are many different strategies and different ways to create cash flow and different ways to create appreciation or even force appreciation. But what I'm going to do right now is just look at the downtown core because that's where a lot of my clients are looking, and a lot of them prefer the idea of buying a condo because it's a little bit more turnkey and the tenant profile is a little bit better. Remember, when you're investing and you want to invest like me, I try to look for the maximum amount of rent I can get for what I paid for. This is what I call the rent to price ratio. Then when you get that and you're happy and content with that, you look for an area with upside, which is potential to grow. So I'm going to go through the neighborhoods in the downtown area that I believe have potential upside and the ones I'm somewhat skeptical on, okay? Without further ado.
All right, everybody, so you can see my screen right now. In front of me, I have the satellite image of downtown Toronto. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start working on the areas and kind of tell you where I would like to invest and what I'm always looking for. So generally speaking, this is kind of what I would say is the downtown area. Let me just map this out for you guys. Okay, so generally speaking, when people are talking about downtown, I would say it's a Bloor and Dufferin. You run all the way down to the lake, through CNE, through the Gardner, through the lake, right off to Don Valley, around Bloor, and this is what I would call the downtown core, like the downtown core. But now what I'm going to do is we're going to go into each area and we're going to start talking a little bit more about each specific area. So what I'm going to do, just to get everyone oriented, is I'm going to actually map out the subway lines because most people are familiar with that. So you can see over here, Spadina line, at Spadina University, we're going to connect it to Museum Station. Then we're going to go to Queen's Park, down all the way down here, Osgood, St. Andrew, Union, and then, I went before, but King, Dundas, Queen College, Wellesley, and then Rosedale. That right there is going to be the line 1, as they call it now. Let me just make it a little thicker. Okay, you can disregard that. That just moved a little bit too far. And then now we're going to go over here and draw line 2, which is a nice straight line, just a little bit of jaggedness right through. And that is going to be the green line. So now I'm going to draw out the kind of little pockets of neighborhood in the downtown area that where a lot of things are happening, okay? So right here, just south of Queen, all the way down to about Front Street, this is Front, is what I would call the financial district. Then we're going to go south of that, which is where Scotiabank Arena is right now, down to Yonge Street. And this is what I'm going to call South Core. It's a realtor made up term. It's not really what people are calling them, but that's what it's going by right now. Then we're going to go into one of my favorite pockets, just south of Queen Street right here. This is called the Entertainment District. It's called the Entertainment District because that's where all the clubs are, but really now it's just condos and ground floor amenities. People love this area because it's in between where most of the offices are, which is in Financial District, and between where a lot of the party stuff is happening, which is in King West. So this is about King West, right down to Bathurst. And then we're going to go right to about Front Street. Technically it goes a little bit further, but there's not much condos there, so I'm just going to leave that out. Then south of that is everyone's favorite. This is going to be City Place. Favorite's a little bit of sarcasm because there's been some pretty bad projects that have been built there. And then a lot of people have been getting into the area west of that, which is Liberty Village, which is right here. And then just north of that, this is an area that is, there's a lot happening. This is, I'm going to call it the Queen West. We're at the Drake and Gladstone Hotel. A lot of condos are coming up there as well. Okay, so now that's kind of where most of the stuff is happening on the west side. Now, when we go to the east side, we're going to start with the east downtown, where I think there's a lot of value. So it's going to be anywhere between here all the way down to the Esplanade. I mean, some of the Esplanade down here, and then we'll go all the way right up into, call it the Distillery. This area, there's a lot of things happening right now, and in the next few years, you can see it expanding quite a bit. And right now, there's already a lot of work on the East Harbor front, which is right here, not including South Core. That basically wraps all the way around to here. There's a lot of pre-construction that's happening right here, and then you probably heard a lot about sales that are happening already, because it's closer to where Google Sidewalk Labs is. So let's map that out as well. Right now, the Google Sidewalk Labs is still kind of TBD. They're constantly going through things, but they're trying not to get into the Portlands. But generally speaking, this is kind of where Sidewalk Labs is. And then now, as we go further east, everyone's favorite Christmas area, which is the Distillery District. There are condos there, and there's actually one coming up right now, and they're going to continue to build there because there's a couple pieces of land. And then now we're going to go into the Canary District, which is a new kind of area just south of King here. There's a lot of condos that have already built, but there's not as many amenities as I would like to see because it's kind of what we call a bedroom community. A lot of people are staying and living there, and there's like the usual kind of like laundromats, dental places that are in the condo commons in the ground floor, but there's really not too much else going on. And then we got Regent Park, which is right about here, down at Shooter. There's going to be a lot more towers coming up. There's going to be another maybe 10, 15, depending on how the discussions go. And then now we're going to get into everyone's favorite area, which is the Bay and Yonge Street corridor. It's very hard to be building areas on top of existing things, but they are slowly doing it. And if you actually go through a lot of what's happened on Yonge Street, you can already see a lot of the existing buildings have already kind of come up and from being sold a few years ago along Yonge Street. So it's just like construction nightmare every time we drive through it there. Right. And then now we got the most expensive part of Toronto being Yorkville. There's really not much land there anymore, but we'll just include it. And then that's really kind of about all the pockets that are happening in terms of condos. So now what I'm going to do as I go through is I'm going to give you the price of how things are. So in Yorkville, we'll start from the top. The last pre-con that sold was about $1,700 a foot, and resale is about $1,200 a foot right now. In the Yonge Bay Street corridor, the last pre-con that was sold was about $1,400 a foot, and then resale right now, depending on how old the building is, anywhere between $1,000 on the really old stuff to about $1,350 a foot. When you go into the East Core, the latest project that just launched, pre-con was about $1,200 a foot, and then resale is about $1,000 a foot. In Regent Park, same thing. The last project that launched, pre-con was about $1,000 a foot. Resale is about $900 a foot. Canary, last pre-con that launched was about $1,000 a foot, and then resale here is about $950, closer to $1,000. In Distillery, this is where it's going to get a little bit wonky because the pre-con that just launched was $1,300 a foot, and then resale is actually about $1,000 a foot. The East Harbourfront pre-con launching at $1,300 a foot. Resale for that existing there right now, I would say it's about $1,100 a foot. But really, there's not much product going on there, and I can see the prices just skyrocketing. There's really just a couple buildings on this side that aren't pre-con. South Core, there is basically no pre-con here, but if pre-con would come out, I would imagine it's like $1,600 a foot. And then if there's resale, we're at about $1,150 to $1,250 a foot right now, depending on the area. Entertainment District, the last pre-con that launched here was $1,350 a foot, and now we're going to be looking at resale anywhere between $1,150 to $1,200 a foot. King West, this one pre-con tends to be really, really high. It's about $1,350 a foot because in King West, if you notice, you can't actually go too high in the building, so that makes the pricing a little bit higher. And resale right now we're about, I would say closer to $1,200 already. City Place, the last pre-con that went up was $1,100 a foot, but there's some stuff that's trading at $1,300 a foot right now because it's closer to the water. And then resale right now is anywhere between $1,000 a foot. Liberty Village, the last one, pre-con was about $1,000 a foot, and resale is about $1,000 a foot. Maybe not, we'll call it $950 because some buildings are a little bit less. And then Queen West, there's really not too much going on. Pre-con is about $1,000 a foot, but resale is about $900 a foot. But I really try to avoid some of the resale in the Queen West side because they're really not good buildings. So that's kind of like a lay of the land in terms of what's happening in downtown. What I'm going to do now is kind of talk to you about my favorite pockets. My favorite pocket has always been the Entertainment District area over here. And the main reason for that is because, one, everyone wants to be close to work and play, and Entertainment District kind of just fits that little pocket. You can walk into the Financial District, and then you can also walk to King West, where a lot of the restaurants and the bars are. The other good thing about entertainment district right now is that there's so much offices that are coming right over here on King West, in addition to Shopify and all the new offices coming out here. So now we have another avenue of walking to more offices that's coming up. And for those of you people who are a little bit into more artsy things or more boutique restaurants, Kensington is right here. So it's only about a 10-minute walk from entertainment district. That's kind of like, I would say, it's the core of where everyone is. And until the recent price raise, the rent that you would get to the per square foot you pay is actually quite reasonable. So now let's talk about another district. If you can get into the financial district, generally does pretty well, but your rent will not cover it. I'm not going to go over it too much. Now we're going to get into the South Core area, which is right here. So the South Core area, we do a lot of like short-term rentals here because there's a lot of buildings that allow for the short-term rental. And because you're close to Union Station, which is right here, you can get in and out very quickly because the UPE goes something like this, right straight to the airport. Now with the South Core, it's more geared towards investors who are either going to be looking to do short-term or they just want to be as close to the water as possible, because there's a couple of nodes of condos down here that are very close to the Sky Dome, the Scotiabank Arena, Ripley's Aquarium, the Scotiabank here, that's the Rogers Center. So there's a lot of the entertainment stuff, like the big scale that's over here. And because by the lake, everyone wants to be there. So there's good value here, but there's really no more land to be built. The reason why it's a little bit less expensive is because there's a couple pockets of older condos on Queens Quay that are available here, but there's value to be had there if you're to buy and then you renovate the interior so it looks a little bit better. So now we're going to get into East Harbor. East Harbor is more of going to be an appreciation play because you're going to be so close to Google Sidewalk Labs, and there's going to be a path off One Young that connects right into the financial district. So everything along here is going to be close to water, and they're all trading at $1,300 a foot. They're going to be putting some major money into here because, I mean, it's kind of like we're at Sugar Beach right now in the red path figure. It's not the most ideal. And they're also going to be turning this little pocket here into First Gulf, and they're going to call it East Harbor. There's going to be a lot of financial district offices coming because, like I was telling you before, there's a lack of office supply. So there's a lot of investment that's happening over here too. Now, the other area that I want to talk to everyone about right now is right here. This is the East Downtown Core. There is some major value to be had here because, one, you're so close to the Yonge subway station. You're just walking over, same with the financial district. You have St. Lawrence Market. And this entire little pocket here, it's a little bit on the older side and not the most ideal, but with all the condos coming, it's going to get gentrified. So the prices are going to be matching to what we're going to be seeing on the west side. Because if you actually look on the east side here, you can see that the west side is a lot more expensive because it's been more developed. But the east side has a lot more potential that's coming right now because there's more development going towards the east because it's at a lower cost. So if you ask me, why should you invest in the East? I would say yes, because all the East has to do to make money is to catch up to the West side. And there's a delta of like $200 a foot. So seeing that increase is reasonable. Seeing an increase on what's already kind of at the peak, I say these amount, it's harder, even though I know it can happen because of what the fundamentals are telling me, but it's going to be a little bit more of an uphill push. The area that I really like in the East Core, it's kind of right about here, where you're close to the financial district, the Esplanade, because it's a little bit more developed and it's closer to the financial district and a lot more of the offices as well. Now, if you still want to stay in the downtown area, but you can't really pay some of these price points because they are very high now, Regent Park is a good option, or Liberty Village is a good option. With Regent Park right now, there's a lot of supply on the resale side because they're building so many buildings, and on the pre-con side, they're going to be building even more buildings. The only kind of bad thing about Regent Park is you kind of have to go through a not very likable area, which is like Dundas and Sherbourne. But other than that, Regent Park has a lot of good things going about it, right? Because if you look closely here, you can see that there is Don Valley, that there's an on-ramp, off-ramp right there. You can take the Dundas streetcar right into Eaton Center in about 10 minutes. So there's a lot of space going on. But right now, because of the fact that it's still kind of labeled Regent Park, it's a little bit less. So there's value to be had, but you just kind of have to overlook some of the areas. Now, on the Liberty Village side, there's a lot of resale, and a lot of people like it now because it's very close to downtown, and there's a lot of amenities going on. And ever since they did the King Street pilot project, you can take a straight King Street car right into Financial District, and that only takes about 15 minutes because there's no cars on the street, so it's been a lot better. In terms of pre-con, there's really not too much going on as much anymore unless you're buying on the assignment market because there's really not much land left in Liberty Village. It's very developed. An area that is being developed right now is the Queen West area. Right now, I would still say if you want to get in, you can. But for what I see that's going to be happening in the Queen Street, I generally tell my clients to try to stay away from it unless it's really, really good value at around $1,000, if not a little bit less. But for how difficult it is to get in via the Queen streetcar, I wouldn't call this, a super ideal buy. And now for those who have money, the Young Bay corridor that I say is developing is very, very good for development because obviously you're on like Young Street, has all the amenities, all the offices as well. The amazing thing about the Young Street corridor, if you can afford it, is you have 3 hospitals over here. You have a giant U of T campus over here. You have a giant Ryerson University also happening. And it's also right where all the Eaton Center and university and all the offices are. So it's literally smack down in the middle. And that's why this area is so expensive. And then, of course, you have Yorkville. Yorkville honestly doesn't really make any investment sense unless you're just banking on appreciation, because look at the delta between the two, right? You're looking at like a $500 a foot difference. It's very, very difficult to make anything cash flow in Yorkville unless you put a lot of money up front. But it really is just more for people who want to live in Yorkville. A lot of people who have been buying in there are more international buyers because Yorkville has that cachet that comes along with it. The last area that I want to talk to you guys about is King West and City Place. So there's been a lot of bad things happening in City Place because the initial buildings were not very good. But as City Place is developing right now, they're actually building a public school in downtown. So what I can see City Place happening is this little area is going to be a lot more family friendly because of the fact that there's school and people are raising kids over the next few years. There really isn't any other public school in the downtown core outside of over here where there's like an Ord public school, or in the entertainment district where this is where Ogden Public School is, right in the core. Obviously, there's a couple more, but the fact that there's a major school being built, a new one right by City Place, that is actually a nice upside for the area, despite kind of the negative press that's kind of happened with City Place. And then, of course, King West is kind of a nice bumping area because a lot of people want to be there. There's a lot of condos going to be built, and there's a lot of tech offices are being coming right here. Uber and Twitter are already there. So if you want to get into that area, you definitely can, but obviously it comes at a price point. So hopefully this kind of gives you an idea of where you can invest and what's happening in downtown. Personally, I really like the East Downtown core because of the value it provides. And I've always liked Entertainment District because the rent to price ratio has always been great. Now, if you're looking, trying to get into the existing market, I would say if you find a good property at City Place, there is value to be had over there. Or if you get a good property in Liberty Village, there is good value to be had there over as well. Now, if you are an investor who's kind of looking for more cash flow, you want to stay in the South Core where we can do some short-term rentals. And if you want to learn more about that, I'll show you how to do that. So this is kind of the lay of the land in terms of where I see condos going in the future and where they are right now. So I hope this helps you guys. And if you are looking for a downtown condo investment, depending on which strategy you are, whether you do pre-con, existing, or short-term, so make sure you reach out to us, okay? Until next time, see you later.
Now that you're done watching this one, how about this one? Oh, you know what? This one's good too. Ooh, this one's really good. You know what? Just watch them both.